Hello, Buffaloes. Today we are starting our new unit, Inside the Nightmare. As always, you want to go to the announcements where I post the daily assignments. So today we're going to read and analyze text for common elements and identify an author's style in order to experience different genres, styles, and formats. So you'll retrieve your notebook. Make sure that you've completed your guided notes. We're going to do vocabulary at the beginning. Then we're going to read House Taken Over, starting on page 34, I believe, and analyze it for Gothic elements. All right, so let's go into modules. Once again, you can do this online or you can do this on paper. Let's go over the unit as a whole real quick. So this unit's going to focus on Gothic literature. We're going to learn what it is and be able to distinguish it from other genres. We'll read short stories, poetry, nonfiction articles, and identify the Gothic elements in them. And by the end of the unit, you should be able to tell if a piece of text is Gothic literature. Here are the assignments for the unit. Taking notes, you should have done that already. We're going to compile a vocabulary list for the unit in your notebook. This will be part of the notebook check grade. You will need to have at least 20 words. We're going to read short stories. We're going to take notes. We're going to evaluate the short stories. And then at the end, we're going to write an original Gothic short story or poem. There will be approximately 100 points for the unit. There will be some supplemental assignments you have to do on your own outside of class as an effort to help you improve your grade. You would need to read and analyze The Outsider by H.P. Lovecraft and or The Pit and the Pendulum by Poe. Okay, so this is the piece we did during testing with the Gothic literature notes and the Edgar Allan Poe web quest you should have completed. So now we're moving on to House Taken Over. So you can feel free to pause, rewind this video as always. Here's a list of the vocabulary terms from this story. I've already taken the liberty of selecting them for you. Pick 3 to 4 words. Look up the definitions, put them in your notebook. Remember, you need to have a vocabulary section for Unit 2, Inside the Nightmare. We will then read the short story in our textbook. Starts on page 37, goes to page 42, and we're going to analyze it for Gothic elements. And that looks like this. All right, so these are the Gothic elements we've studied in our notes. So what you're going to do is you are going to put in a direct quote from the story that represents this term. So you need a quote from the story that shows setting, a quote from the story that shows an unreliable narrator, a quote from the story that shows a supernatural element, a quote and page number from the story that shows omens, curses, or dreams, a quote from the story that shows insanity, one that shows decay, and one that shows terror, horror, and mystery. Then on this side of the document, you're looking specifically for figurative language. Once again, you will need the quote from the story with the page number. I need a metaphor from the story, a symbol from the story, an example of imagery from the story. Remember, there are 5 different kinds of imagery. You just need one. An example or a quote from the story that shows suspense, a quote from the story that shows foreshadowing, and a quote from the story that shows dramatic irony. Once again, I'm not going to give you the answers. I can point you to where you might find the answer, but your job as a student is to be able to find information on your own, using reading skills, using skimming and scanning techniques, knowing the definitions of this academic vocabulary to know what it is and be able to show an example. This gets you ready for English 3, English 4, and the adult world. You have to be able to know a term and show an example to support your understanding of that term. That's how you demonstrate the skill. So I don't want definitions here. I want examples from the story we are reading. You'll turn these in at the end of class. I'll go ahead and grade them. Remember, you can also turn them in online. I will grade them, and then that way you can revise it to improve your grade if you need to. Okay? Have a great day.